This moment is not just a culmination of rigorous training and hard work.
All eyes on me, 2 claps on 3, 1, 2, 3.
We serve all the people that are living their lives or even driving through our district every single day.
Keep the mission, the vision. Keep the mission, the vision. Yeah. Fear no pain. Fear no pain. It takes a special person. It takes a special person to play this game. Play this game. When I go to work. When I go to work. And things get whacked. Things get whacked. I have no fear.
The thermal imager is in the top 2, maybe like at the very most, the top 5 innovations that we have as the fire service to make things safer for us and safer for the public that we serve. And so it's important for them to understand exactly how to use it, because this is a foreign language that we're trying to interpret constantly. And so if we're not using this as our second or third language, right? We're trying to pick this up and we haven't used it in a while. It's definitely, you get rusty with it. I will ask that we run in fire mode for most of today, but I want you to work through all five of those modes as we're going. But in reality, I want you to use that temperature, and I want you to work through how accurate or inaccurate you can be by exactly what you tell it to do.
Thermal imaging cameras are a great resource to use for identifying where the fire's at, where the fire is going to, location of potential victims just based off of body heat. It's a really intuitive camera that we can use kind of in conjunction with like everything else that's going on scene and inside the incident. So it's a great resource to have.
We're using that heater to simulate a very small fire, a trash can fire, something that's very small in the incipient phase, and I can start to catch all of the convected heat, the way it affects it. I can talk about emissivity and the problems that come with that and the reflections of infrared. I can do all that stuff in there, talk about basement fires and how I'm using thermal bridges and the construction techniques that are there, the weaknesses in construction techniques to tell me things about basement fires once I get inside. So thermal imagers, they take infrared light that we can't normally see, and it's light that's heat reflective off of everything. So sun is one of the emitters that's there. It affects everything that we touch as well. So fires do the same thing as the sun, just on even a higher level than what that is. And so when that infrared comes off of all the objects in the room and it passes through the camera, it allows, there's a chemical inside that gets excited by all that infrared, and it allows the camera to interpret that and then make a visual picture of light that we can't normally see. So we can see the way the heat transfers through the smoke, and I can actually see objects through smoke. I can't see through walls. It's not X-ray vision. It's not that cool, but it definitely allows me to see the heat that's behind the wall once it's affected the wall. Same thing with all the furniture, and then people that I can't see through smoke because it's so dense that I can actually not even see my glove or my gloved hand right in front of my mask. It allows me to see through all of that and be able to find people and find the furniture and the things that we need to search for. We're very visual animals, and everything that we do, we work in that visual space. So when I take that away, we struggle, and we have a hard time moving to the other senses that we use. And so if I increase your heart rate, increase stress levels on you, and then I give you your vision back, it's this odd sense that I have to use it, that I must use it, and I must use it all the time. And so coaching them to actually, every time you move, put down your camera, bring back the situational awareness and understand what everyone else is going through in this situation, because you're the only one that has eyes on your crew. And in reality, there's a point in here where moving with your camera up actually slows you down. And once you give way to the fact that you don't have eyes and you can just operate in that blind atmosphere, it definitely helps you move significantly faster. Now, can I do a much better search pattern with this and have my camera up? 100%. But I have to understand when to use it and when not to use it so that I'm more efficient. This is the way we save lives, the way we make the seat of the fire, the way that we look at building construction, the way that we actually are able to function on the fire through smoke. And it tells us so much about the building, and it allows us to find victims significantly faster, and allows us to evacuate them from the building, maybe not from the route that we came in.
Yeah, we've got a whole bunch of tools. I mean, the fire trucks are basically just a giant rolling toolbox with a bunch of water on it. So the thermal imaging camera is one of the tools that we can use. Helps us size up the incident, so it lets us see the kind of like where the fire's at, even if it's, inside and we're outside. We can kind of see hot spots where it's a little bit warmer on the wall. That would be kind of an indicator where potentially where a fire's at, or where it was and where it's going to.
Guys had a significantly different fire to fight in the day, and they used different navigation techniques. They used the flow path, and they were able to navigate through those fires really, really well. With the change in fuel types, the amount of smoke that we have in this fire makes it significantly harder for us, where we have jet black smoke floor to ceiling, and I can't see through it at all. Flow path and those things have become more dangerous for us and all those things, so us utilizing that technique is not as easy. So this is a significant improvement, and it's 1,000 times better for us to be able to navigate through that thick, heavy, dense smoke that we have inside structures today. Thermal imaging is good, really good, until it's bad.
If you show it the wrong thing, it will give you the wrong information every single time. It won't tell you what you want if you show it the wrong thing. So what happened was people were crawling into a fire and they're looking at the floor and they're like, hey, temperature's low in here, everything's hunky-dory. Well, what they didn't realize is that if they were to look up, in the top half of their picture, it's red hot and it's rolling over the top of their head. Well, they're this close to a flashover and they didn't even know it, because they're looking down at the floor where it's cold at the floor, right? So they showed it the wrong thing, so it gave them the wrong information. They interpreted their image wrong, and that led to them being caught in a flashover.
Smoke is you can't really see through it. It's got all the particulates of combustion that kind of ride through it, and it can be very dense and thick smoke that's effectively like closing your eyes in there. But having the thermal imaging camera really allows us to kind of see through that just through heat signatures, and can really help us like do our job a little bit quicker.
So that little box is an average of the pixels that you show inside that box, all right? So think of your TV, all the little dots that are on your TV or on your screen, an LCD screen. This is the guts, and this is the core. So inside that camera, there's a core that's very similar to that. And in here, right in this portion right here, there's what's called the focal plane array. And there's a bunch of dots of amorphous silicone that are on that focal plane array. So amorphous silicone is a chemical that will see a difference in its electrical potential when it sees heat versus cold. And that's what allows it to take infrared that comes in through this lens right here and turn it into an electric signal that works on the back side of this, and eventually it comes out on the screen that I have on this side. All right, so all those dots of amorphous silicone that are on here allow me to generate a picture. So those are just like the pixels that are on your television set. So all those little dots are on there. There's the same kind of thing with this, right? And so inside that box, this is laid out in a grid on here. And so inside that box, there's a certain number of pixels that land inside that box. When you use it, I want you to look up. When you go inside, I want you to look up, right? Things you're looking for up when you're looking up. You're looking at building construction. You're looking at thermal layer. Thermal layer is how deep this is on the wall. So that heat, we all know that when a fire goes off, right? All that heat rises to the ceiling, and then it mushrooms out across the ceiling. And then once it gets to the edges of the wall, it starts to fill the pool, right? It starts to fill from the ceiling down. Well, it affects that room evenly all the way across. And so it starts to create this line around the wall. And as I get more and more heat in there, the pool gets deeper and deeper and deeper, right?
So it wasn't crazy hot, but we got the second burn. We ended up with 850 degrees at the ceiling. We weren't cooking too bad in there. But again, we need to have room for discussion and time to talk versus it's chasing us out of the room.
Typically on our rigs, what you'll see is an ABC or a dry chem extinguisher. What does A stand for? Ordinary, like paper or wood, that sort of stuff. B? Flammable liquids, like diesel. And then C? Electrical, okay?
So we're just learning the different types, what they're used for, how to use them, playing with fire.
So when we sweep, what are we looking for? Am I sweeping like this?
No, sir.
No, I got to aim towards the base of the fire, squeeze, I got to sweep, and we're just trying to coat that fire, right? What is the dry chem doing to the fire? How does it put it out?
Chemical inhibition.
Chemical inhibition, right? So we talk about that fire triangle. We've got heat, oxygen, and fuel. What's in the middle? Chemical chain reaction, right? So this is going to knock out that chemical chain reaction, stopping that fire from burning.
So extinguishers are super important because depending on the class of fire, and we have A, B, C, D, and K. So depending on what type of fuel is burning, so whether that's class A, where it's your woods, cloth, plastic, stuff like that, or if it's K, which is your kitchen oils, so maybe something you would see in a commercial cooking kitchen, something like that. You want to use different things to put out that fire because there's different methods of extinguishment. So we go over everything from smothering to cooling to a spawnification, which is basically making a soap film over the fire, and it cools it and basically smothers it at the same time.
So when we go and we walk up to the fire, I need to be a little bit closer to it, and I need to be more on it to actually get that gas to dispense onto the fire and displace that oxygen. If I stand way back here, now it's just going to go into the atmosphere and it's not going to do me any good. Make sense? It's a good example, right? When we're working that fire, that sweep really means something, right? So when I take that nozzle, I want to sweep. I want to go closest to furthest. Does that make sense? Like I need to put the fire out as I go. If there's any bit of fire that's not out, that's closer to me and I've moved on, it's going to reignite. Try again.
Different extinguishers do different things. So the CO2 is truly asphyxiating the fire, and then your dry powder and dry chem, that's what we use to basically gives a film of kind of powdery residue and again smothers that fire.
Can't get my finger in.
Somebody grab another dry chem. I want you guys to feel the weight. Still decently heavy, but not as heavy as it was when we first grabbed it, right? How long did that last? Nowhere near as long as this, right? Yeah. So that goes really, really fast, okay? So we've got to be mindful of that and realize how much fire we can actually put out with it. I couldn't tell you what, like square footage wise, what this one will put out versus that one, but just recognize that one does not last as long, even though it's heavier and you feel like it's got more stuff in it. This is just an easy, like residential door that you would see $100. This is just a regular residential door that you would see in your home. Okay. So right now we have it closed. You guys have your TICs. You learned how to use them. You have that crosshair on there. What's the temperature at the top of this door right here? You're looking way too low. I can already tell. Right here. There you go.
It wasn't on, sir.
All right. What is it? You guys got to speak up.
75.
66, 75. Yeah, about that. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Come feel the door. Feel what it feels like. Really no heat right now, but just give it a good feel. Knock on it. Oh, don't beat my door in. You're not a cop. You're a firefighter. You're more eloquent. All right, awesome. Pretty easy, right? Cool to the touch, not a big deal. If we look inside here, we just have ordinary combustibles that we're burning, right? What's the heat of the fire right there? Right at the base. 500, 600.
674.
Pretty hot, right? Let's just call it hot, okay? So we'll let this go just a little bit, get some heat in there.
The water can is, I would say, the most used extinguisher that we do have. It's 2.5 gallons of water. Some people put foam in it, another way to reduce the surface tension of a object and truly let that water get into said object.
You guys will learn more about the can here in a second. We'll go over some of the anatomy of it and how to use it. But based on the class, what type of can is this? Water can, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. How many gallons of water?
2.5.
2.5 gallons. How much does it weigh?
28.6 pounds.
That's the only thing that we have. If we don't have an additional hose line, or let's say something went sideways with getting water supply and our engine ran out of water, something like that, we still have a can and we can do some serious damage in a can. So
come feel the door right now. Feel the heat gradient. You can see a little change in the paint. Now look at how hard it is for me to open this door. You guys can see it's kind of bowed a little bit. We open it up, look at the inside. What's the temp of the inside of that door? You gotta come over here. Your tick's not gonna work that way.
442 at the top, 47 at the top.
Yeah, that's pretty hot, right? Let's say 500 degrees. That's a lot of heat up there, right? The door's still doing pretty good. For a $100 door, I still feel pretty confident that it's gonna keep that fire away from me, right?
160.
160, all right. What's the temp now?
100.
What's the temp now?
100.
109, 116, 120.
Dropped it about 60 degrees, right? That's pretty significant. Now I can take my hand, I can feel the door. It's still pretty warm, but not as warm as it was, right? Can you guys see the change, the bow? A little bit in it, right? Why is it doing that? It's expanding, right? That heat's getting to it. There's gases in here that can't escape yet. So it's expanding some. Do you see the difference in how rigid the door is? In a minute though, when we see this door deteriorate a little bit more, you're probably not going to want to open that window until that ladder is ready to go.
Yeah, 190.
What is it now?
115, 120.
Look at how it's bowed. Do you guys see the difference in the door there?
75 at the top of the door.
Pretty hot, right?
Yes, sir.
You guys, can you see all the smoke damage and the heat at the top of the door frame there? Okay. Okay, so when we use the can, and I'm just trying to wet the door, what's the goal? Should I use it in a full stream, or should I break the stream up? Why? Steam, right? I want to get as much coverage and as many water droplets on the door as I can. I'm not going to penetrate this door with my can, right? I'm just going to waste water. I want the most bang for my buck, so I want to get this door spread all the way covered with water. All right, come feel this door again. Just like feel the rigidity. Don't push it in though. Feels a little softer, right? Now, I know you guys are feeling up here, right? But also feel here. Feel the difference. Big difference, right?
Yes, sir.
Study shows that if it takes 4 times longer to get my victim out from the window, right? We're sitting here isolating in the room, than it would for me to drag them through all this, their chances of survivability are much higher. Does that make sense? So we can sit in this room 4 times longer than if I were to drag them through the stuff and they take a deep breath, they're gonna die. Right behind that door's hot enough. Still doing good though, right? That's big, that's significant. That's when I would start to say, somebody opened the door, there's a change in flow path, or that fire's getting closer to me, right? Especially if my window's open.
221, 224, 219.
Yeah, look at the change. Did you see the change there? Somebody changed the flow path, right? Something happened, and I need to be concerned with that. That would worry me a lot. Say, hey, we got to figure this out. I'm gonna cool the environment. What's burning right now? The smoke, right? Now I know, like, man, something changed. We gotta get going. We gotta figure this out. You can see it start to push through here, right? Now when we look, that door is pretty significantly degraded, right? There's still a good significant amount of water in there, right? Okay. So I say we're still doing pretty good. We got to figure out how to get out of here, but we're still doing all right. Look at the door start to bow. You can see it start to change down here now. Look at the integrity.
660.
Okay.
861, 856.
Now just remember, we burnt out the other side already, so we only have this piece right here. Look at it start to separate. Big difference. What's the temp? At the door?
458,
Okay.
467.
Whoever charged this one didn't do a good job. All right, what's the temp now?
192, 199, 210.
Pretty good, pretty significant, right?
Yes, sir.
So if we can save our can for as long as we can, then we can do a lot of work on this door, right? If the fire starts showing through the door like this, I have that 2.5 gallons, that's when I really want to concentrate on this door and start flowing water. You'll start to see the paint peel in just a minute here. There you go. Starting to blow through that paint, right? Right here. That's some significant fire, right? That door is pretty much done. I can still do some work on it though, right? I just want to try to make it last as long as possible. Would you agree with me that this has lasted, since it started igniting on fire, a lot longer than you thought? That's pretty rad, right? It lasted a long time. But right about now, we're like, yeah, if I can feel it, I know that that victim can feel it. So now they're getting the smoking salt and the thermal. So we have got to get them out. See how fast it developed all the way down the door there? All right, would you agree that door is pretty much done? The top of that door has failed and the fire has made the room, right? We are in absolute trouble, okay? All right, take a look in the room. Look how much fire's in there. Pretty good amount, right? This is a full water can. Hopefully it's filled correct. We're gonna hit the base of the fire. This is the benefit of it. I did all that work with this little pan. If I use all of it, two and a half gallons put out that whole fire. Did you feel the heat? You guys are probably like, oh man, it's hot. Like I don't want to be that close to it, right? It's one of those uncomfortable campfires where everybody starts to back up, okay? Look at how much fire I put out when I use that can properly. We can put out a ton of fire. So imagine you're the truck company, you're a medic unit, whatever. You go and you find the fire and it's a room and contents like this. You hit the base of the fire like that, then what do? Close the door, right? I close the door, I can find that fire and isolate it to that room. I reset the clock, right? Now that engine company has some time, I have more time to do my search, and we've done a ton of good for our structure. Does that make sense? And our victims, really our victims, okay? So just remember that can do a lot of damage. We can put out a ton of fire. So don't be afraid to use it, but you got to use it correct. If I didn't know where the base of the fire was, what should I have done with my stream?
Started at the ceiling.
Ceiling and how?
Worker use or
Upside down.
Okay, if I do this though, it's just a small garden hose, right? It's not going to really do me any good. But if I can cover that nozzle and I can separate that water out, I can get a better stream conversion, right? So I want to get as much water surface, as many water droplets in the air as possible to get that conversion. If I just have that straight stream with 2.5 gallons and 100 PSI, it doesn't do me any good, right? It could, but not in the sense that we need it to. But if I find the base of the fire, we're going to use every bit of penetrating force that that can has on the base of that fire. So using it correctly is going to be huge.